What's up, fellas? Today we are going to be going over something relatively simple for PF, and that's why Sega's viability is somewhat recently skyrocketed, and why it's arguably the best Apex now, whereas before it was pretty inarguably the worst of the three Apex carnivores. So, to understand why Sega is now viable compared to how it was before, you kind of need to understand why it was really bad to begin with. And the main reason for that is because of the two other Apex carnivores, Kanu and Suchalar. Kanu and Suchalar in a 1v1 against Sega were able to impose their better stats upon it, and there was nothing that Sega could do about it. Sega would get out DPS'd by Kanu, and Suchalar would just bully it because there's nothing that Suchalar couldn't do against the Sega. Whereas in terms of in general, not just in a 1v1, but in general use, Suchalar's versatility and Kanu's overall DPS just completely outclassed Sega in terms of using them. There was no reason to use Sega over these two because they were just so much better. Sega also wasn't able to bleed the things that it can now bleed after its adjustment. Before, it wasn't able to bleed Kanu or Suchalar, Mammoth, Rat, or Trike. Now it is able to bleed all of the or everything other than Crab. The only thing that it can't bleed in the game right now is Crab. So now, if we look at these diagrams that I have helpfully put on screen, Suchalar and Kanu are not able to absolutely dog on Suchalar or Sega anymore because Sega is now able to bleed the two of them, making it so that if they face tank a Sega, there's a high chance that they end up bleeding out. And if they have a technical range battle with a Sega, trying to bait hits and whatnot, they will likely still lose because of the pressure that bleed puts on. Sega is also capable of 1v1ing the two statistically best creatures in the entire game, Mammoth and Dab. Sucha and Kanu can do that, but it is way more difficult given that they do not do bleed to Dab or Mammoth. With them not doing bleed to anything, even things like Trike or Rat, it makes it so that Sega in general is just going to be a significantly better option for fighting against a majority of the roster, as well as as having more stamina than both Kanu and Sega, making its viability way higher and making it in general use significantly better. Most of the time, you are going to be having a much better and easier time with Sega than you are with Kanu or Suchalar.